All right, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley facing backlash over her response to a question about the Civil War. Take a listen to her response when a voter asked what caused the war during a town hall meeting in New Hampshire last night.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
I think it always comes down to the role of government and what the rights of the people are. And I will always stand by the fact that I think government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people. It was never meant to be all things to all people. Government doesn't need to tell you how to live your life. They don't need to tell you what you can and can't do. They don't need to be a part of your life.
In the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
All right, that was Nikki Haley yesterday, and here's Nikki Haley today playing a little cleanup.
I think everybody thinks that the Civil War is about slavery. It was more, what's the bigger issue of it? You know, we went through 80 years of that, and we know that people were struggling with what's the role of government, what's the role of individual freedom. And the lesson we should take away from Civil Wars, yes, never allow slavery to happen again.
All right, so this all comes as Haley keeps gaining momentum in the polls on the heels of an endorsement by New Hampshire's popular Republican governor. 538's Galen Druke is back now to break it all down for us. Galen, good to see you again. But why do you think Nikki Haley answered the question the way that she did?
So I can't see inside of Nikki Haley's head, but there are some dynamics here that are important to consider in understanding what happened. First of all, in the time since, she seems to have suggested that this could have been a plant or a gotcha question, so maybe she was on guard. And evidenced by the way that she answered the question today, she seems to believe that slavery played a role and acknowledge that that was a messy answer. But one thing to note here is that Nikki Haley is perceived as the moderate candidate in this primary. And in particular, she's doing well in New Hampshire amongst Republican voters who are notably more moderate than the Republican electorate as a whole, or Republican primary electorate as a whole, and in a place where independent voters are allowed to vote in the Republican primary. But the issue for Nikki Haley is while she may do well with that segment of the Republican electorate, looking at polling, about 75% of Republicans consider themselves conservative, that is to say, not moderate or liberal. So while those are advantages, her moderate standing is an advantage in New Hampshire, it's not an advantage throughout the rest of the primary. And so Nikki Haley is guarding her right flank, essentially. She doesn't want to be perceived as particularly liberal or moderate for a lot of Republican voters out there. So that may be a dynamic at play.
All right, Galen, but going back to her comments here, she has been getting a lot of heat, but is what she said last night actually in line with other answers that she's given in the past?
Yeah, so critics have pointed out since her response last night that Nikki Haley has waffled on some of these issues in the past. So, for example, when she ran for governor of South Carolina, she originally said that the Confederate flag was part of South Carolina's heritage and was in favor of keeping it at the Capitol. When she was actually governor, of course, she famously supported removing it and ultimately did remove the flag after a mass shooting at a primarily Black church in Charleston. And so, critics will point out that there's some waffling there. She also said in 2010 that South Carolina had the right to secede from the Union. Now, the question is, does this affect her in a Republican primary? It's not clear that it will, because for folks who are looking for somebody who's more progressive on racial issues, they might not be supporting Trump or DeSantis instead. But folks are instead pointing out, even her rivals like DeSantis are pointing out, this just means that she's not ready for prime time. This just means that she's not a good general election candidate, because in a general election, voters are liable to care more about this kind of an answer.
All right, Galen Druke on top of it. Galen, thank you, and always good to talk to you as well.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.